Ohio State beats Rutgers 35-16 here in Piscataway at SHI Stadium. Last time Ohio State will be here for a few years. Trevon Henderson will certainly remember it fondly. He had 208 total yards on offense today. That was 208 of Ohio State's 328 yards, and a lot of that stuff was second-level bursts as a runner or yards after the catch as a receiver. Like, he was going out and piling up a lot of yards today. That's 2 weeks in a row since he came back from injury that Trevon Henderson has looked like basically the guy that they told us was coming through the preseason. Like Ryan Day was telling us, everybody was telling us, like, hey, this guy's coming. So is this going to change Ohio State? Is this really the thing that maybe unlocks Ohio State's offense, that teams recognize what TreVeyon Henderson is doing and going forward have to change the way they're defending him? The thing I'll remind people is the passing game today didn't look great. Rutgers is legitimately a really good pass defense. Like, we're 9 games in. Like, the statistics don't lie. Like, they've stopped teams all year passing through the air. Ohio State actually did better than most teams do through the air against this Rutgers defense. Steven, do you see where I'm kind of going with this? Like, is Trevon Henderson's running the thing that might ultimately unlock this passing game?
He had 415 yards on 55 touches the last 2 weeks since he's been back, which is a crazy number to throw out there. That's rushing and receiving combined. The answer is yes, because he is giving teams something else to worry about other than Marvin Harrison Jr. And Emeka Egbuka should be doing that as well. But, I mean, he's been out with injuries. And so let's give him an extra game to get back, and then we'll see what happens here, especially if the passing game is better next week against Michigan State, who has routinely the last 2 years allowed Ohio State to just go haywire in the passing game. But teams, I want to go back to the Notre Dame game when Notre Dame decided everybody else is going to have to try to beat us because we're not letting 18 do it. And then what happened? TreVeyon Henderson popped a 61-yard run, and it kind of opened up the game for Ohio State. Marvin did have some catches after that. It opened up Emeka Egbuka to get going. But the more teams have to think about TreVeyon Henderson, whether it's as a runner or it's as a receiver out of the backfield, the less you're able to just go, you know, we're just going to stick 2 guys on Marvin Harrison Jr. and make somebody else beat us. Because TreVeyon Henderson is now a threat to you. They've been missing that threat, and it didn't matter against Penn State because Marvin just went off anyway. But Penn State also didn't try to double him, which was stupid on their part. But when you play Michigan, if you get on a playoff stage, if teams feel like if we take away Marvin Harrison Jr., there's no offense, there's no more winning for Ohio State when you get on a stage with a like-minded opponent. But if TreVeyon Henderson is going to be that for the rest of the season, and more importantly, if he's going to be healthy and do that for the rest of the season, it's just giving other teams something to think about, which can help Kyle McCord, which can help Marvin Harrison Jr. and the rest of this offense.
Andrew, I'm not even really talking about their usage of TreVeyon Henderson as receiver, which also, by the way, has gone up the last couple weeks. I mean, certainly it went up over the previous month because he wasn't playing, but even before that, they went a year and a half where they weren't using him as a receiver, and now they are in a big way. But that's not even what I'm talking about, because that's an extension of the run game almost. I'm talking about him as a rusher. Could this be the thing that helps this passing game finally reach its potential?
I think so. The explosiveness, that is something that they have just been lacking for a couple of weeks. You have that home run ability out of the backfield, and what does that do? That takes pressure off Kyle McCord to go out there and hit a home run because, to use baseball analogy, all you got to do, hit some singles, hit a double every once in a while, and then you got the back who can take it 45 yards for a touchdown, right? That's what TreVeyon Henderson can give you out of the backfield. That's what he can do when you have him in the backfield. So the Notre Dame game was a great example because the touchdown was one thing. They didn't run the ball well aside from that. Like, they didn't run the ball well at all that day. And then you have a running back that can do that, and the game changes, and the offense changes, and everything changes when you have that home run threat who can just, hey, we're going to run a play to the left, which had not worked for them all day, and then he takes it 60-plus yards for a touchdown. That's what that gives you. And I understand you were talking about the running game only, but when you have him coming out of the backfield, I start to wonder if defenses – do you have to use a lighter box now? Do you have to have a linebacker do you have to maybe sub some people out? Do you have to use kind of different things because he is a threat out of the backfield? Does that make it easier to run the ball? If you have a lighter box, if you have a linebacker maybe subbed off the field for an extra safety, like, are you able to do certain things? It just gives you so much when he's in the backfield. So I think that what he does in the run game is important. The threat of him, like the idea of TreVeyon Henderson in the passing game, I think is enough to help the running game as well. So it's a lot of layers here. It's maybe I'm getting too philosophical with this. Maybe I'm thinking too far ahead with this. But whatever the case is, TreVeyon Henderson in the backfield gives you an explosiveness to this offense that you just desperately need at this point of the season.
Here's the plain truth of it. We're like 9 weeks into this. I think there is still, and we've seen it, gradual, some might say glacial, improvement from the offensive line. And he's taking advantage of some of that. There's a better structure to the blocking of these past couple weeks. He's getting in the second level. He's taking advantage of that. But my overall point there is the offensive line play is probably not going to get to a special level this year. So that means a lot of other people have to be special to win at the things that you're talking about here, to win at Michigan, to maybe have to win a Big Ten championship game after that, to then have to try to win in the playoffs after that. Like, there's got to be other special guys out there. And the more special guys that you put on the field, that might be their only chance to really get this offense started. And Marvin Harrison Jr. has been special since day one. And TreVeyon Henderson looked good at times early this year, but this break that he got clearly unlocked something. And I think if he keeps this going, I think what we're getting at here is if you're an opposing defense and you've been watching those first 6 games, or 7 games, whatever it was, and now you watch these last 2, I think you have to start making some tweaks. And I don't know if you're Michigan State or Minnesota here these next 2 weeks, which of these things you start to try to take away. Because before, you could kind of sell out a little bit to take away the pass. And you could do what Notre Dame did against Marvin Harrison Jr., those sorts of things, and try to take away those guys. And now I think they have a guy who can make you pay when you do that. And I think it could be, if they end up winning this whole thing, or even if they just end up winning at Michigan, I think that might be the key element, because it's offense that has let them down as much as anything the last 2 years in the second half at Michigan. Much more talk about that on Buckeye Talk, I think, this week as we head into that game. We'll be following that over the next couple of weeks, and get the text 614-350-3315 news, analysis, updates, everything we can find out about Ohio State from cleveland.com.